They did it. They dropped some earnings.
Yeah. I find it alarming how badly Microsoft's consumer hardware does. And I don't know how you solve the Xbox problem. They announced these sort of non-refreshed consoles for some
Yeah,
reason instead
which
of like
is
true, not going to move the needle at all.
no.
But I don't know if you caught this. Like I started working on a kind of a longer analysis piece of
Hold on,
the
before you go
earnings.
too deep,
Hmm.
real
Oh,
quick.
I'm sorry.
High level numbers. Revenue
Right, sorry.
for fiscal year 24 Q4, which is calendar year Q2.
Hmm.
$64.7 billion in revenue, which is up 15% year over year. Net income of $22 billion, which is up 10% over last year.
Hmm.
Office consumer subscribers, 82.5 million. LinkedIn revenue, yay, up 10%. Nobody cares about LinkedIn.
Okay.
Windows revenue increased 7%.
Yeah.
Devices revenue decreased 11%. Xbox content, this is a loaded number, but Xbox content and services revenue increased 61%, 58%, which was associated to Activision, but overall gaming revenue was down.
Yeah,
And
58 points of the 61% gain was Activision. So,
yeah,
which
well, it's
explains,
worse than that though, because if you go
yeah,
look,
no, it's there's more nuance. Yeah. I'm
yeah,
just from a revenue perspective. That
the
doesn't have
revenue
anything to
number's
do with
down.
profitability or whatever. Yeah. Yep.
Even it's down. Oh gosh, I think even Activision's revenue was down because of how they were
Okay. That I've not
year
looked
over
into
year.
yet,
But
but
anyways,
that's, yeah. Yep. So, okay. Sorry. I just was, sorry. I like hyper focused on hardware for some reason right there. But, that one of the many little tidbits in there is that this current quarter, Microsoft actually expects to see growth in Surface devices, which is Surface. Um, really like low single digit, right? So 1 to 3% probably. But still, I have to go look this up. But just from their current earnings report, you can see that this was at least the fifth quarter in a row that Surface/devices fell and fell big, like double digit revenue decline. That's an enduring problem. So that's bad. I don't know. Xbox is tough. I got to look at the Activision stuff a little more closely. They go into great detail, but like, one of the things I did do just as a cursory thing at first, and I'll get in more detail as I look at it today, but you can kind of see where Microsoft focuses by, just by what they choose to discuss. Windows came up barely at all. Surface devices came up barely at all. Xbox consoles, not at all, other than the line item in the earnings report that discussed the hardware shortfall there, the hardware revenue shortfall. Activision Blizzard comes up a lot, like a lot. AI comes up, trying to think of a non-profane way of saying it, a lot, like probably more than any other thing, I guess. There's a subtle thing in there where Azure growth by revenue was 29%. Apparently, the market expectation there outside of Microsoft was 30 to 32%. So Microsoft's stock price actually fell by 6% after hours, despite these blockbuster numbers. And this is another area I've not looked into yet. This is going to be how I kind of wrap my write-up up. But the impact of AI on Microsoft financially is interesting, right? Because they spend a certain amount of money, and by a certain amount I mean like double-digit billions of dollars, building out this infrastructure and otherwise investing in AI, if you will, right? Both as a platform for third parties to build off of and also their own first party stuff. It's kind of hard to understand, but a lot of stuff going on here.
There really is. I mean, they will
What
survive another
what do you
quarter.
see in this? Like, what you look at this, right? I mean, and you come at it from the same perspective I do, right? From kind of, client, whatever, focus, consumer. Like, what do you
Yeah,
see here? Like, what does this company look like to you?
Well, the hardware number that Paul has alluded to, they were down 42% year over
Yeah.
year, which
Yeesh.
is y-
And they weren't exactly killing it a year ago.
no.
That's
Uh,
the thing.
if you look
I,
at it, if you look at all of last fiscal year, hardware sales were down every quarter except the holiday shopping season, which was up about 3%,
yep.
which really just tells you that they sold a lot more consoles, but at a lot lower price is more than
Yeah.
likely what happened
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But
Which, but it is a viable strategy if you're not losing money on every single one of those sales. And we don't know that,
yeah,
but they are, right? I mean, they are.
the Xbox
Um,
side, they are committed. Game Pass will live on. I think that is a thing that I think Microsoft sees as their only future in in like the gaming space.
can,
Like Game
can I throw out a theory? I'm just curious
Yeah.
what you think about this, because the big debate with Xbox as a platform is when or whether Microsoft will exit the console market, which freaks people out,
Mhm.
right? So Microsoft has always said the right things there. No, this is always the thing. This is, blah, 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 whatever, right? We all know this. As a gamer, as a fan of this type of thing, I like their kind of cross-platform game where you are,
Yeah.
push.
I think here's what I think.
Well, hold on.
Here's
Let me throw out the question though, because this is the thing. Do you think is it possible? I mean, this is like conspiracy theory stuff, but Microsoft is not putting out refreshes when arguably maybe they should be, right? Maybe they're letting it tank in the sense that they lose money on it anyway. Activision Blizzard is this foundation for the future of Microsoft gaming. And Xbox becomes this umbrella term for gaming, which is just a collection of studios that puts games wherever you are. Like Sega when they exited the console market with after Dream, or maybe it was a one thing past Dreamcast, whatever it was. And like, like, in other words, they have to say the right things because otherwise they just lose everything. But inside, what they're really thinking is, if we could just get rid of this thing would start to make sense. This being the console. So now what they can say is, look, we try to make a go of it, and
here's how
reality
this plays out.
Mhm.
And I'm fairly confident. First off, I think Surface is the canary for Xbox, right? They will have some sort of hero device. It'll be lower volume. You'll get it if you want it. The diehards will grab that. I genuinely think that the long-term play at Xbox is that it will become just a service, and you can go buy an Xbox from Dell, HP on a PC.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because
you're like the PC model. Like, in other words, we're gonna maybe third parties could make a go of this and be financially viable.
let's be real here. I don't think Microsoft doesn't want to be in the hardware business. Like, full stop.
I mean,
They don't. Their margins, the margins are bad. It's a lot of risk up front. Whatever. Think of it from this perspective.
yeah.
If this was Apple, and Apple put out an iPhone every 7 years, would we be saying like, oh man, they should get out of the hardware business? So Microsoft has like two choices. If they want to make those hardware numbers look good, they have to release an Xbox every year. Like, that is their option.
But how do you differentiate like a Windows-like ecosystem for game machines that isn't Windows? Like that's Xbox,
that's
not
the point.
Windows.
Like, there was a point in time where consoles made sense because they needed very specialized hardware, because an Intel CPU, well, maybe not the latest Intel CPUs, an AMD CPU
Yep.
was not good enough to do the very specialized task of running Mario. Like, it didn't make sense back then. Today,
I mean,
the Windows PCs that are rolling off the line that you can go grab at Best Buy have more power than what an Xbox console does.
I just wrote about this laptop I've got here that's it's $600 and it plays games great. Like, I mean, sounds like a jet engine, yada yada yada, but yeah. No, but I mean, isn't the existence of Sony and, well, PlayStation and Nintendo suggests that proves, I guess, there is a market for this. Like, it's of a size. It's those companies, those products do well.
For a company that did $64.7 billion in revenue last quarter,
Yep.
Is that market big enough for them to keep
yeah,
building
well,
out
that's right. In other words, Activision Blizzard makes sense,
Yeah.
because there's still, I mean, aside from the upfront investment, I
Mhm.
mean, their best performing games typically are the big expensive things like Call
Yep.
of Duty, whatever. So there's still like an investment, but it's software and services, really, I guess, and that's more in Microsoft's wheelhouse than hardware, obviously. I mean, again, like I said, like I blurted this out at the beginning because like I look at this and what I see is like this company's going gangbusters, except for the consumer hardware,
Yeah.
you know? Boy, it's a shame, although this would have made the hardware numbers even worse, I guess, that Microsoft was not able to come out and say, all right, this holiday, we got these refreshes, the ones that were rumored or beta versions, or maybe we're stuck because they are doing this ARM transition there too. And that's going to be the next, miracle hope for the future. I don't know, but I
Let me phrase this a slightly different way.
Okay.
Or think about this in a slightly different way. I don't think Microsoft is going to dump the Xbox brand or the hardware because no. To your point, it is the last bastion of connection to the consumer. However, it absolutely would not surprise me if Microsoft comes out with whatever next gen console thing is, put it in quotes, with a like $149 box that sits under your TV that plays the games at 1080p, and that's it. And they just go for the Game Pass. Here's the box. Sign up for Game Pass. $149. It runs on ARM. It's 1080p, 60 frames per second, and that's what the industry has demanded.
I don't know, man.
And then you go for the volume play. I don't think it makes sense for them to come out with a super high-end console. I really don't.
I still like. I say this as an unbelievable hypocrite, right? There's no way around it. Like I don't actually play games on the Xbox anymore myself, which is incredible. I was Xbox 100% from 2005 until last March. Like that's almost 15 years, right? Or almost 20 years. 18 years, whatever that is, doesn't matter. Math, not a strong point. But I've been dabbling in PC games and whatever. And I think, as like you said, as basic PCs become more and more capable of playing ever more sophisticated games, I guess that alone reduces the need for a console in a way, right? Because it's so plug and play. I mean, one of the other edge of that sword, where the PC is so adaptable and configurable and upgradable that you can have like incredible graphics and all that stuff, is the complexity, right? And it's still not completely seamless, but you by and large, like, we don't have the problems we used to have in the past. Like, you run a game, and when you come back to the desktop, everything's where you left it. It's not all shifted up to the corner and resized to some tiny resolution. Like that's mostly solved. It's kind of like that transition we had in the 386 era, where you had to create custom boot floppies to play certain games depending on your system, because if you didn't have enough RAM or the processor wasn't powerful enough, you had to optimize high mem and whatever. I can't even remember everything, but like, we get past that stuff. Like, eventually the technology just improves, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I just wrote about the Store app, right? Again, for the Windows 11 Field Guide. And one of the goofy little things I didn't even realize was in there, because I just don't look at this stuff. There's a section in the nav bar called Arcade. Have you ever looked at this? These are just like casual games that you do not install. You just launch them. They launch in a separate Windows Store window, and you play them online. Like, they're just they're casual games, right? So this is a part of the market I don't care about personally, but like, that's part of this overall PC gaming picture, right? You don't have, I mean, not that you would play Call of Duty that way, although that's the dream of cloud gaming, right? You don't have to sit there and install and wait and then try it and be like, this game stinks, or whatever. Like, or it's taking up disk space and you can only have so much there, whatever. I mean, it is getting, we're trending in that seamless direction, right?
Yeah, we'll see. Microsoft's not going to stop building consoles, because that would do more damage, I think, to Xbox than probably the cost to build the freaking consoles.
Yeah, but at some point, my God, I mean, look, that markets are sustainable or they aren't, our products or whatever. Like, How much money do you have to lose? I don't know what there's something going on here. I really think and I think it's AI and it's ARM. And I think it's like these things are going to come together to enable things to be better for Microsoft as a platform maker. Like, in other words, this notion of like AI being used to create game levels on the fly, or you have those, no, what's it called? No Man's Sky or whatever
Yeah.
type open worlds where, um, the notion of a software maker creating some universe full of planets and flora and fauna and all the ships and whatever is incredibly impossible until you have AI. And then it's like, yeah, we just create it on the fly. And everyone has a different experience because it's different for you. It's different, because it's happening on the fly. And, maybe that helps reduce costs for certain types of games that otherwise would be prohibitively expensive. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just not there, I guess. I mean, the whole combination of hardware, software, whatever, they're in a holding pattern. It just feels like they're doing. I mean, they just bought Activision Blizzard. We talk
I
about this
know.
all the time.
That's the
There
thing.
are there are 2 games on Game Pass. 2. Like, what? I mean, how do you excuse that? At least get that going. I mean, wouldn't that bolster Game Pass
Well, we'll
sales?
find out in the second half of this year because that's supposedly the plan. But again, until that plan starts hitting the
This
service,
is it's inexcusable. I don't know how else to say it. It just it makes no sense. And if there's a reason, and there must be, tell us. Give us a sign of hope.